Hello, viewers. This is Paladin of Odin, and this is some more Magic the Gathering Online. This is another episode of the Standard Commentary series, and I'm not quite sure what the red-green deck is yet, but the other side is playing. Okay, so it's red-green Werewolves. The Partisan is kind of a dead giveaway. You know, some werewolves are not a dead giveaway that they're playing a werewolf deck, but this one is. Now, on the other side, he's playing the blue-white spirits slash flyers deck. He's currently got Dimensional Infiltrator, Bygone Bishop. He just threw down the Topple Geist, so taps the Partisan, though it's not really that big of a deal right now, since it couldn't block a flyer, even if it wanted to. But Geist activated Bygone Bishop, so he gets a clue token. Flies in for 4 damage, so Werewolves is already down to 14. And something that Werewolves is going to have a hard time with is dealing with flyers. Now, there's plenty of burn spells that can take care of these creatures. Duskwatch Recruiter. That's a werewolf that you see in a lot of decks, mainly because it's that good of a card. So, when you see this werewolf, you don't instantly think, oh, he's playing a werewolf deck. Expedite. Alright, that gets him a 2-2. And gives the Duskwatch Recruiter haste. So now he can attack in with 2/2/2s. And I highly doubt that he's going to block. Oh. Just going in with the Duskwatch Recruiter. So that's going to be 2 damage. There's no reason for him to lose his Topplegeist at this point. It's more worthwhile to him alive, as it's a flyer, and then, the possibility of Delirium makes, if you can get Delirium, this is a very powerful creature to have on the board. So, blue-white pops the clue token at the end of turn. Now, like I was saying, Werewolves is going to have a little bit of trouble, at least combat-wise, dealing with flyers. There's a lot of those new green spells that can take care of creatures, the fight-type cards. Because, the Flyers deck is typically pretty small. So if you can get a big creature, those kind of spells work really well. And then there's the... Oh, what is that one? I can't remember what it's called. It's like Nightly Hunt or something like that, where each wolf or werewolf you control deals its power in damage to target creature. That very werewolf-specific green kill card, which can be very powerful. Okay, that was 5 more damage flying. So he's down to 9. And the Reflector Mage got rid of... Oh, man. Duskwatch Recruiter, sorry. Alright, he's attacking all in. Reflector Mage is a 2/3, so... I was going to say he can block here. But at the same time, you're at 18, so 4 damage really isn't that big a deal. Rush of Adrenaline, +2/+1, and Trample. So that'll be up to 6 damage. Gets himself a 2/2 blocker. But ultimately, this is going to come down to most likely Flyers just continuing to fly over the top and kill him. Declaration in Stone on the wolf tokens. So gets rid of all of those wolf tokens. There were tokens, so he doesn't get any clue tokens. And yeah, that was kind of his trump card right there, was, having an army of creature tokens. So the possibility was there that he could have threatened lethal, but Declaration in Stone took away 3/4 of his army, so it pretty much neutered his play there. Forgive the terrible pun there, but yeah. Unless Werewolves is running the right kind of removal, which he could. Red is full of cheap burn spells that will just chew this deck apart. Fiery Temper, whether you're madnessing it or not, Lightning Axe, Fiery Impulse, lots and lots of cheap burn spells that can kill any of his creatures, unless he gets his pump cards out early. Alright, turn 2 Duskwatch Recruiter from Werewolves, and as an addition to the red burn spells, he's playing green, so he has access to quite a few of the like I called them, the green fight spells. That werewolf one, forgive me, I can't remember the name. And then there's Rabid Bite is another really good one. A green and a generic, so that your creature deals its damage to target creature, and it's not a fight, so you don't have to worry about losing your creature. Okay, Rattle Chains. And in Eldritch Moon, they're reprinting Prey Upon, which is a very cheap option. It is a fight, so you do risk losing your creature, but at 1 green mana, it's a ridiculously cheap possible creature removal. And when you're running werewolves, you're most likely going to have the 2/2 wolf tokens, from one source or another. Arlen Cord, Silver Fur Partisan. I've seen the higher end mana curves use that spirit that whenever a creature you control transforms into a non-human, get a 2/2 wolf token. Not really that great of a creature because of how much mana it costs, but there are plenty of wolf creators. So, like right now, say Prey Upon were already out, he could use his wolf token, cast Prey Upon, have the wolf fight the Rattle Chains. You lose a 2/2 wolf token and take out his flyer. So he activated Duskwatch Recruiter there, found himself a Silver Fur Partisan, and I'm wondering if his hand isn't short on creatures, or whether it's because he wanted to flip it over to the Howler. Because a 3/3 that reduces all your creature spell costs by 1 in a deck that's a lot of creatures can be amazing. Like next turn, Reflector Mage, excuse me, that'll bounce him. But what I was gonna say is, next turn play a land. He has 4 mana. Potentially, he could play 4 2-drops if he were to have. So Rattle Chains goes into 2. That'll be down to 18 for Werewolves, but that's just one example of how powerful the Howler can be. Silver Fur Partisan costs 2. Another Duskwatch Recruiter costs 1. But unfortunately, Werewolves doesn't appear to be, I'd say, tricky enough to deal with this white-blue Flyers deck. He needs to have creature kill options, and we haven't seen any from him. When you're facing off against a deck like this one, killing his creatures is killing his deck. We haven't really seen a whole lot of ways for him to save his own creatures. We have seen options for him to kill his opponent's creatures, but not really all that much recursion or, counter spells, for example, since he's running blue. This is a highly aggressive deck, so I highly doubt that he's running any counter spells. But, there's probably a couple in his sideboard. Double Duskwatch Recruiter from Werewolves. Unfortunately, if blue-white has a Declaration in Stone, that might just doom the Werewolves. But he's attacking all in here. A double block with the Duskwatch recruiters could kill off the Reflector Mage, one of the recruiters would live, and he'd only take 2 damage. But he's at 18, so taking 4 damage right now, honestly not that big a deal. Which, he agrees, he chooses not to block there. And no spells were played, so both of his Duskwatch recruiters flip. So now all of his creature spells cost 2 generic less. So, things like Silver Fur Partisan are a 1-drop. Lambholt Pacifist is a 1-drop. His Duskwatch Recruiter is a 1-drop. Now that I think about it, almost every werewolf that we've seen in play would be a 1-drop at this point. So 6 cards in hand, he has the potential to be able to throw down almost his entire hand. But it's really more of a question of, does he have the creatures in hand that he needs? Also, if he plays more than 2, he loses the Howlers. We go back to recruiters, but ooh, Zada! I wasn't expecting to see her. But it's a very powerful creature, especially with some of the buffs that we've seen, like Expedite. Silver Fur Partisan. Okay, now that is a really nice combo here. So now, all of his buff spells, all he has to do is target Zada, and then they will target all of his creatures, and almost all of them are werewolves, so, 1 buff spell here gets him 3 wolf tokens, plus the buff spell on all of them. And I mean, at the moment, if you have it, go for it. Because you have to be aggressive against this guy. So, in go the Howlers. And no response from either side, so blue-white's down to 12. End of turn, Dimensional Infiltrator. And the Howlers flip back to the Duskwatch Recruiters. Which, if he's short on creatures, is helpful, because he'll be able to fetch some, provided he... Oh! And white-blue concedes. I'm actually quite surprised at that. I mean, he was not in a bad spot, really, there. It was a little early for him to call it game, but then again, if he didn't have a way to stop him from, say, playing that one spell that gives his creatures +2/+1 and trample, then he probably was going to die next turn. But this match has gone on for far too long. I wanted to show off this blue-white Flyers deck because I saw him in another game where the Shuffler was not kind. But I like the idea of this deck because I had the idea of it when I first saw Thunderclap Wyvern, but now there are actually creatures that make it sort of viable. I'm not saying it's, top tier worthy yet, but, it could be. But I'm going to end the video here. That was Green-Red Werewolves versus Blue-White Flyers. And if you liked what you saw, hit that like and subscribe button for me, and I'll see you in the next video.